Or sometimes I'll see guys. Now it's so funny that you see the guys who want to keep up with the other guys. So like
The
Rogan,
security guards, you mean?
they need one, right?
Yeah.
They can't, even if it's just like move.
Yeah.
Forget like kidnapping threats. If it's just like get out of the way,
Yeah.
this guy needs to like drink his coffee.
Yeah, there was some dude who was like a little too drunk and the guy came over and was like, "Get the fuck out of here."
But then you'll see like mid-level comics like I'm getting a bodyguard. It's like,
Get
oh,
the
is this a
fuck
status thing?
out.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how ridiculous this is? Can you imagine how ridiculous it is that there's now comedians? I didn't know this was to be true, but Ari Shaffir saying this, he's probably right because he's around these guys. He's now saying there are comedians out there who are trying to look like they're big shots by hiring security when they go and do shows and shit to look like they're important or whatever. Or maybe it's a weird way to kind of get through the crowds. Maybe you purposely hire somebody just so you don't have to keep saying excuse me, or touch people or just communicate with anyone. You just want to go from your car to the stage. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're doing it purely for a logistical reason, just to kind of increase their amount of time, just to decrease the amount of time it takes them to get from their car to the stage or to the green room. But if it's just an ego or a boost or like an insecurity thing, you have to be a real fucking loser to hire security just to kind of feel important. It almost is similar to those people. Remember before, I think it was before the pandemic, when all those influencers were like going on those fake private jets. Do you remember that? There were these like stationary jets that you could go on and you could take pictures of yourself to make yourself look like you're in a jet. It was like a thing for like a really short period of time. I'm not sure if it still is a thing now, but obviously that was like, you know, maybe it was like a thing of like, because during the pandemic everyone was sort of like grounded, we didn't have anywhere to go, restrictions everywhere. But if you had the money, you could go anywhere really. You could kind of get yourself a fake jab, you could skip the queue and get jabbed. You could basically, you know, get the fake COVID passport. Everything is open to you. And obviously you got the means to go anywhere you want. So maybe that whole influencer thing was a way of people like trying to pretend that they were rich too by sitting in a plane. And then, you know, so these comedians are fucking insane how it works. LA is like, maybe it's not just the LA thing, but maybe it's talking about LA. Either way, it's such a redacted thing to want to pretend to be Joe Rogan rich. Like, Joe Rogan's like the 1% of the 1%ers. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you even care? Like, I don't know. These guys are fucking insane. Instead of spending all that time actually writing good jokes and trying to come up with good material or trying to put on a good show, they're wasting their time spending money on security, on former fucking Navy SEALs to fucking try and make it look important. By the way, these former Navy SEALs, these Marines and shit, they must be booked and busy, innit? Keeping, you know, making sure they keep Kardashians and extended family safe and fucking low-level comedians. Absolutely crazy.
No way.
I
mean, yeah,
have an
maybe
off-duty cop of your
maybe
show.
that's the move. Like, maybe we should just pay for bodyguards and then make people go, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how
Yeah.
like you have a fake
Maybe
paparazzi.
Jackie could look more butch and just fucking be like
Jackie, you're our new
Berlin
bodyguard.
Ex-military.
I could very much go for one of those guys who is the bad guy who steps in and goes, hey, come on, just keep moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when, you know, people get a little too drunk and they linger a little too long and it's fine, but you're also like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Dude,
Just have somebody be-
I saw one of Rogan's guys in action once doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We were all at dinner. We're all eating. And some guy just wanted to, like, he didn't just want to say hi. He wanted to disrupt. Yeah, we're all talking. Also, it's like, no, get out. It doesn't matter. Nothing you can say.
Imagine Joe Rogan's friends getting annoyed when his fans are coming up to talk to him. It's so hilarious, isn't it? They all want their private time with Rogan. Like he's like a hot girl, isn't it? Rogan's like a hot girl for these comedians. They want their private time. They don't want to be disturbed. Talking to Rogan, it's like, bruh, like, he's one of the most famous men in the world. He's got one of the most popular podcasts in the world, maybe in the history of the world. It's obvious that people are going to always want to come up to him, especially because he's imbuing all these personal bits of wisdom to them and telling them to sit in fucking cold baths and do 10 kettlebell swings if they feel poorly or depressed. You know, like, people want to let him know how much he means to them. What's your problem with that, bro?
But he's walking by, you know, like from his table and then outward near the front. And then he steps up to say, like, hey, man. And this guy, if you'll get it or something, but he just goes, as he's like, hey, Joe, he goes, hey, Joe's like, hey, can I help you? I'm like, how'd you get that fast? Because I clocked him, see him from way back.
Yeah. Even like when we go to like the Super Bowl, We have a bunch of ex-cops who kind of just oversee like the whole operation.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Imagine this dork walking behind cops when he goes to the Super Bowl because he thinks he's fucking Pat McAfee or some shit, right? He thinks he's fucking Skip Bayless. Honestly, these guys, man. Don't get me wrong. I know Barstool Sports is huge, but having a police escort to go to the Super Bowl because you do what? Some YouTube honest. Have you seen? By the way, this guy. They did some recent thing. Whoever did that as a genius at Barstool Sports, they did something where they did like a they did like a Barstool version of the Combine. Yo, I'm not gonna play the video now because my computer will probably blow up. But there's a Barstool version of the NFL Combine, and I swear to God, it's fucking hilarious how unathletic these motherfuckers are. One of the guys, I think it was him. He couldn't even run. Like he couldn't even run like 40. Like he couldn't run. Like there was no form. There was nothing. Like the lack of like explosiveness, the lack of like fast twitch muscles, the lack of like jumping and be able to land properly. I'm like, wow, bro. Like you guys, you can tell the kids that just did not play football. And you know what's funny? I've noticed, and I'm not too sure if this is more of an American thing. I think it is, personally for me. I'm gonna judge. I think it is more of an American thing. I get the feeling there's way more people in America who are very who are very much into sports, talk about it very passionately, but have never really played it. Whereas I feel like in the UK, anybody that's really into sports usually plays it as well recreationally. Not professionally forever, they actually play it. Like they play basketball, they play cricket, they play football, badminton, fencing, whatever. They play it, rugby. But I feel like in the States, people just like, they talk very passionately, almost very knowledgeable, like, you know, sounding about what they're talking about. Tactics, this, she should have done that, that player should have done this. But then when you give them a ball, they have no idea what to do. When you tell them to run, they have no idea what to do. When you tell them to jump, they have no idea what to do. It's fucking wild.
Not like we're never in danger, but they almost just like drive us back and forth. But they told me they're like, we are always like clocking everything.
Wow.
And
Just
like
to be aware of the
99% of the time we don't see anything, but we always are like, I got like a little weird. He's good, and you know they just like once you have that in you, you don't stop.
It's funny too when you're not the celebrity, because I've been. You guys probably are too. The satellite of the fucking you can see it all. You can see all people looking at them and talking about them.
All of a sudden, cameras, just people putting cameras over the top of the circle.
Oh my god!
Like when Shane walked in, it became like
it's so lame,
you know. And I was like, whoa.
I went to a
and that's the truth of it. And he's actually right. I think that is the lamest part. I think actually being friends with somebody that's famous must be quite lame when you go out, because you kind of have to let them do their thing. Then you just awkwardly stand to the side. And then when they finish doing their thing, you continue on. And it's that constantly. And even when you go sit down, and I'd imagine, because I think in the UK, we're a bit more respectful when it comes to celebrities. We kind of leave them alone. But obviously in the States, you guys don't leave them alone, right? You have fucking paparazzi there that are serious. We have paparazzi too, but they wouldn't, you know, they're not going to fucking quiz you at your fucking dinner table. But you have people that are going to walk up to these guys on their table, mid-fucking munch, rock up to them behind, you know, tap them on the shoulder when they're sitting, eating a Waffle House, you know, fucking at 4 a.m. in the morning after boozing and, you know, smashing fucking prozzies. You know what I mean? Like, just in the worst possible moments, like, you know, fucking talking to them while they're pissing in the toilet. You're like, Jesus Christ, give these guys a break. So I think that lack of, like, boundaries and respect is a bit crazy over there. I think more so than in the UK. That's the only issue I'd imagine that could happen. Obviously, yeah, exactly what Joe said is right. It depends where you are, but unfortunately, these guys live in the places where you're gonna get mostly hassled. New York probably less so. I feel like New York was kind of like, when I went to New York all those years ago, I feel like New York and London are quite similar in that people just get on with their shit. They're so busy. It's a rat race. You know, life is so expensive. Rent is so high. Your mortgage is fucking crazy. You just have to you just going to and from. You got no, you know, the most you do is like, yeah, what's up? But there's not, because I think that's why for a long period of time, I remember maybe a couple of years, Rihanna was living in London. Rihanna was living in London for a couple of years, no issue. No one ever knew. She was living in London, going to the shops and shit, chilling, and no one really kind of knew because, people just leave you alone in London. They don't really make a big stink out of it. Whereas you think if Rihanna moved to fucking Michigan, people would fucking flock all over there and be taking pictures of her wherever she went. Arizona, you know what I mean? Ohio, like they would follow her everywhere. So I think it's completely different over there in the States. You guys really, really, want to have your 5 minutes with these guys, which is understandable, because they're famous and shit. But hey, what can you do?
Bar with Shane and Austin, and just like it was like nonstop bros just asking for pictures, and I was like, Shane, your life fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah.
And that's very true as well, what Ari said. Shane, you'd imagine, has a probably majority bro audience. Those type of guys really enjoy talking to people like that, and they feel like they know him or whatever. So that must be even worse because they're probably high, they're probably drunk, very touchy-feely, don't know when to leave. Like, he's got a good audience because they're obviously very loyal and they're going to support him until the end, and they're probably very vocal about the support also. But when you do bump into him in real life, situation. Yo, big up Coiler. What sad is when celebrities get mad that no one is noticing them. Yeah, of course. You can't complain about this sort of stuff, the attention you get, and then also complain when you don't get it. That's a fucking ridiculous situation to be in. But I think there is a perfect level of celebrity. It does exist out there. There is a level that you can get to that's enough to that's probably good enough to make sure that you are living that life until the day you die in terms of money you're making, is good enough where you're gonna get noticed for certain things, but it's not for other things. But it's not overbearing to the point where you can't even go and fill up your car with fucking petrol and shit. That's when it gets too crazy. That's a level that most of us should be in my opinion, or what should try to aspire to. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah,
This is
in that
fucking
last
bad.
like 1 or
This
2
is not
years.
fun.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then they're like, we got a private room for him. Like, I don't want to be in a private room.
Right.
I just want to be at the bar.
Right. It does suck.
I just want to be talking and looking at the TV and chicks and like.
I'm the same, by the way. When I've gone to nightclubs, I hate the green room. I'd rather be in a dance floor dancing with people, especially be in the green room. You're just full of people in the industry who just want to take drugs without having to go to the toilet. You know what I mean? That's all it is, green rooms, essentially. Or people just gossiping. I'd rather be in a dance floor fucking shaking ass and shit. But, if you're with Rogan and you go to a steakhouse, you probably do need a private room. Because if someone walks into a steakhouse and sees Rogan there, they're going to come over and say hi. They're going to say, thank you for all the pods. You've saved my life. I nearly jumped out the window, but then I heard you talk about fucking Trump and COVID, and I just sat back down on my chair and I knew life was worth living. You know what I mean? Yeah, I heard you talking about fucking ivermectin for the millionth time, right? And I just knew I couldn't end it there. I had to fucking give life another go. So I just think it's the nature of the beast. But to be fair to Rogan, let's give Rogan some flowers here. All these faults, especially in recent years, one thing that I really admire about Rogan that he doesn't do. He never complains about paps. He never complains about
Schaub and his busted missus who hire paparazzi to take pics of them at the stinky steakhouse. Bean cheese, bean cheese, bean cheese, bean cheese, bean cheese.
You can't
bean
see
cheese.
me, but I'm doing it. Big up Victola in Japan. I wouldn't say his wife is busted. Let's be fair too. The wife isn't busted. Let's be fair. I think there are plenty of people in the stream chat, plenty of people outside of the stream chat in real life that would probably bust her down if needed. Do you know what I mean? Let's not lie. But yeah, that paparazzi hiring thing is wild. We already talked about it in the last stream, but Brendan Schaub's wife hiring paparazzi to take pictures for his surprise 41 birthday party, but then the pictures turning out like it was actually her party and not his. Chef's kiss. That's when I say to you guys, I don't like talking about the wife too much, but I think that's why they're perfect for each other, because they're the same person. It's basically, they're opposite. They're just different genders. That's it, but they're exactly the same person. Only Brendan Schaub's wife would hire a photographer to take paparazzi-like pictures of them pulling up to a steakhouse, and then when the pictures get developed, it looks like it's actually the wife's birthday, not his. That was one of the best things I noticed about this bitch. Like, what the fuck? Why do you keep noticing her? Why is she smiling at the camera? Why is it like the focus just on her, or maybe the cameraman had the fucking hots for her or something, or I don't know, who knows what happened in the background. But I did find that whole series to be quite interesting. But hey, what can you do? Big up Victrola in Japan. I do appreciate you.
Right.
Just talking to my friends.
We've always been pretty much right at that spot the whole time.
Yeah,
And
you guys get
it's-
recognized, but not where it's crazy.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm the
and
same
we
way
can
out
like
of Boston.
we can go wherever, you know. And there's a couple things, and it actually feels good still. It's like, okay, we still got it, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't want it to totally stop.
Yeah, of course you don't want to totally stop. You have a police escort when you're going to fucking the Super Bowl. Like, of course you don't want it to stop.
But the minute you actually need the bodyguard or
Need
can't
it.
go to the places or whatever,
We had Tommy and Chris were on before they moved to Austin and Stuff Island, and they were telling about, like, I think they were on the road with Shane in, like, Oklahoma or somewhere like that, and they were, like, went to get, like, a burger at, like, not a rest stop, but, like, a roadside burger place, like, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they were sitting in their car eating it, and some guy's, like, knocking on the window, like, Are you Shane Gillis? And they were like, we can't fucking go anywhere.
anywhere, dude.
That's wild, man. You have to be a real dickhead to see Tom Segura and Shane Gillis sitting in a car eating a burger, and then you knock on the window. Like, it's one thing if you see him outside of the car, but going up to someone's car and, like, number one, why are you staring into people's car that long anyway? And then to walk up to somebody's car window and you know, and like, if you don't, unless you're asking for directions or help with a tire or something, you have to be a real redact. That's some weird behavior, very, very strange behavior. But for Shane Gillis, it must be. That's the thing with these guys, which I kind of understand why they turn into dickheads. Kind of, in my opinion, it must be pretty hard. Let's think about it. It must be pretty hard, right? To be like a middle-aged man and then suddenly become famous. Regular schmegular civilian of a middle-aged man doing stand-up for $50 and drink tokens and lunch and maybe a fucking hand job in the toilets and shit, or fucking 8-ball. That's what you're doing comedy for. And then suddenly it turns, your podcast becomes popular, your clips of your stand-up start doing crazy numbers, and now you're making, like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars per month, even more. And you're commanding high fees for your stand-up gigs now. Clubs are talking to you differently. You start getting calls from CAA and WME to manage you and represent you. It makes sense why they turn into cunts. Because it does go from, like, you being a nobody to suddenly you being recognized as, like, you know, leader of the new gen or whatever, a voice for the people, whatever your fucking slogan is as a comedian. It must be quite hard to kind of maintain some semblance of normality and decency. It must be quite hard to do. So for Shane Gillis, I big him up because he's become more famous in the last 18 months than he ever has, or maybe even last 12 months actually. It's been crazy how, you know, things have changed for him, but it also must be like a hard time to kind of, not kind of dip his foot into, like, being a cunt. You know, because it's very tempting and it's very easy. But big up Irish Shaffir, big up KFC there. Barstool Sports little clip there regarding fame and how sometimes it's not always what it's cracked up to be.